landed on the table before anyone in the room had finished settling into their seats. It did not make a loud sound. It did not need to. Ted Lieu set it down with both hands, flat, and left it there. Pam Bondi was seated across the chamber. She straightened. Her attorneys were already watching. What was inside that folder had not come from a whistleblower. It had not been leaked. It had been produced through a congressional subpoena. 2 independent forensic analysts had authenticated it. It was entered into the official record of the House Judiciary Committee. The time was 9:42 in the morning, a Thursday in late winter. Nobody in the press gallery knew what was in it yet. The cameras were rolling. The stenographer had her fingers on the keys, and Ted Lieu had been preparing for this moment for 11 weeks. The blue folder had one label on the tab, 3 words. It read "Search Log Report." The room would not forget what came next. Lieu had served in the United States Air Force as a judge advocate. He had prosecuted cases before military tribunals. He had spent years understanding evidence and chains of custody. He understood what it meant when a government agency tracked what an elected member of Congress was reading. He understood that better than most people in that chamber. Bondi had arrived that morning with a legal team of 4, 2 private attorneys, 2 senior counselors from the Department of Justice. She was dressed in a dark jacket, her posture controlled, her expression measured. She had testified before congressional committees 13 times in the preceding 14 months. She had survived all 13 of them. This one was going to be different. The cameras were positioned correctly. The studio lighting in that chamber is unforgiving, and Bondi's expression was in full frame. She set a pen down on the notepad in front of her, not on the paper, beside it. She did not pick it up again. What the cameras did not capture was this. In the row behind the witness table, one of Bondi's junior counselors opened a second binder. He turned quietly to a tabbed section near the back. The attorneys communicated through posture and silence. They had rehearsed for a different kind of hearing. This was not that hearing. Subscribe to Patel Report Files right now. We cover the hearings the networks walk away from. Every week, what the cameras miss. The search log report had been obtained through a House Judiciary subpoena issued 6 weeks before the hearing. The subpoena had compelled the DOJ to produce internal tracking records from official document review visits. Those visits had been made by sitting members of Congress to the DOJ secure reading room. The reading room is a controlled facility. You sign in and show credentials. You are assigned a terminal and begin reviewing documents. Every search term you enter is logged. Every document you open is time-stamped. Every page you view is recorded. The facility was designed this way, the DOJ argued, for national security purposes. Representative Pramila Jayapal had visited that reading room on a Thursday in early winter. She had come to review Epstein-related documents. The Epstein Files Transparency Act had made those documents available. She had been there for 4 hours and 37 minutes. She had searched for specific terms. She had reviewed specific files. The search log Lieu held in the blue folder contained 67 pages. Each page documented, minute by minute, exactly what Jayapal had searched for and reviewed during that visit. That document should not have existed outside the secure facility. Under long-standing constitutional precedent, the executive branch does not compile intelligence dossiers on sitting members of Congress. It does not retain them, not based on official oversight activities. The separation of powers doctrine exists to prevent exactly this, the executive using its surveillance capabilities against the legislature. Bondi's DOJ had compiled this document. Her office had retained it. Then, in a hearing the following month, something changed. A photographer captured the edge of a folder on Bondi's side of the witness table. The label on the tab was visible. It read Jayapal Pramila Search History. The photograph had been taken by a wire service reporter. It had been published, and Ted Lieu had obtained the document through subpoena 7 days later. The second piece of evidence Lieu had prepared was something the press room had not seen coming. He had a second folder, thinner and darker than the first. He placed it on the table beside the blue one. Bondi's left thumb pressed hard against the edge of her notepad. Before Ted Lieu asks the first question, I need to stop for a moment, because what you are about to hear matters beyond the politics of this hearing. If you believe Congress members should not be surveilled for doing their jobs, hype this video right now. The hype button is right next to like. You can hype 3 times a day for free. We have 7 days to get this video into the top 100 most hyped on YouTube. Every single hype counts. Do it now. Then keep watching, because what Lieu does with that second folder is the part nobody is talking about. Lieu did not open the blue folder immediately. He set both folders on the table. He adjusted the microphone. He looked at Bondi for a long moment without speaking. Then he asked the first question. He asked whether the DOJ considered congressional document reviews to be intelligence collection activities, whether those reviews warranted internal logging and retention. Bondi said that the reading room logging was a standard security protocol. Lieu said he understood that. He said his question was different. He was asking whether those logs were retained beyond the session, whether they were analyzed, whether they were compiled into a named dossier, and whether they were kept in the Attorney General's office for future use. Bondi's right hand moved to the water glass. She did not drink from it. She set it back down. Her senior counselor leaned toward her ear. Bondi listened. She nodded once, barely perceptible. Then she said that the department followed all applicable legal authorities governing information retained from secure facility visits. Lieu said the word applicable. He said he wanted to talk about applicable. He opened the blue folder. The document Lieu placed on the table was a true and complete copy of the search log report. It had been compiled by the DOJ Office of Security Programs. Both independent analysts had authenticated it. The document ran 67 pages. The cover page bore Jayapal's name, her congressional office designation, and the date of her visit. The words "retained for reference" were stamped in the upper right corner. Lieu said he wanted to understand what reference meant in this context. Bondi said the document was retained as part of standard facility management protocols. Lieu said the facility management protocol was to log activity during the session for security purposes. He held up the cover page. He pointed to the words "retained for reference." He asked whether those 4 words appeared in the facility's standard security protocol documentation. Bondi looked at her attorneys. Both of them were already writing, heads down, pens moving. The room had gone very quiet. No anchor covered what happened in the next 11 minutes. And what happened in those 11 minutes is the part that matters. What the cameras captured in that moment was not just a legal argument about document retention. The congressional record would document something else entirely. It was the image of a sitting Attorney General of the United States, surrounded by 4 attorneys, unable to answer a direct question. The question was whether her office had compiled a surveillance dossier on a member of Congress. Not his word, not Ted Lieu's claim, her department's stamp on the cover page. Lieu then opened the second folder, the thin, dark one. He removed a single page and set it on the witness table so that the text faced Bondi. He said he wanted to ask about this document as well. The page was a routing memo from the DOJ Office of Legislative Affairs. It was dated 3 weeks after Jayapal's visit to the reading room. It showed the search log report being distributed to 3 named recipients within the DOJ. The first recipient was a senior policy analyst. The second was a deputy chief of staff. The third was the Office of the Attorney General. Bondi's eyes tracked across the page. Her jaw tightened in that specific way. Not quite a clench, the kind that comes when a body is making a decision about a face. Lieu said the question was simple. If the document was for standard facility management, why was it routed to the Attorney General's office 3 weeks after the visit? Bondi said that senior leadership routinely received security briefings. Lieu said he understood that. He said his question was about something specific, a named Congresswoman's search history in a document review facility being distributed to the Attorney General's office. He wanted to know what security briefing purpose was served by a 67-page log, a log of what Pramila Jayapal had read. Bondi looked at the document on the table in front of her. She did not answer immediately. The stenographer had stopped typing. The room held a particular quality of silence that congressional chambers develop when something irreversible is happening. The silence in that room lasted 52 seconds, not a word, just the ventilation system and the sound of a career navigating catastrophe. If you believe this evidence matters, like this video right now, Patel Report Files has been tracking these Epstein hearings week by week. Your like tells us this reporting is worth continuing. Hit it now. Bondi's attorney rose. The attorney said the Attorney General would need to consult with department counsel. She would need to do so before responding to questions about internal routing, questions about security-related documents. Lieu said that was not a constitutional privilege. That was a request for recess. The committee chairman said they would take a 10-minute recess. In those 10 minutes, Bondi's senior counselor made 2 phone calls from the hallway outside the chamber. Both calls lasted under 90 seconds. Lieu's staff later reported that one call went to the White House Office of Legislative Affairs. What no one in the press pool reported was what happened when the hearing reconvened. Lieu had prepared for the recess. He had a third document. The third document was an FBI official witness interview report. It was an FD 302 form. A senior DOJ security officer had completed it approximately 4 months before the hearing. That officer had been interviewed during an Inspector General inquiry into DOJ reading room protocols. In that interview documented in the FD 302 form, the security officer had stated something specific. The practice of retaining and distributing congressional member search logs had begun at the direction of senior leadership. That was the quote. It had begun in the months following Bondi's confirmation. The security officer had not been asked to identify who in senior leadership had issued the direction. The Inspector General had not followed up. The inquiry had been closed without a finding. Lieu set the FD 302 form on the table beside the blue folder and the routing memo. 3 documents on the table now, one from the facility, one from the routing system, and one from an FBI witness interview, all pointing in the same direction, all authenticated and entered into the congressional record. What the hearing produced that morning is not a political talking point. It is a documented, authenticated congressional record of decisions that cannot now be undone. The subpoena compliance audit for the search log report was still open. The perjury referral to the DOJ Inspector General had been drafted before this hearing began, and Lieu had prepared for both outcomes. What happened next was something the major networks did not carry. Bondi's team had prepared a brief on applicable legal authority for executive retention of congressional oversight-related documents. The brief cited 3 cases, and Lieu had read all of them. He had also read their footnotes. The third case had a footnote. It cited a Senate Intelligence Committee ruling from a winter morning 7 years earlier. That ruling had held such retention to be a potential separation of powers violation. The context was a different agency and a different inquiry, but the principle was the same. The retention had to be specifically authorized by the intelligence community oversight framework. Bondi's legal brief had cited the case. It had not cited the footnote. Lieu cited the footnote. Bondi's left hand pressed flat against the table, both palms down. The kind of pressure a body exerts when it needs something solid, when the calculation is running and the math is not working. Lieu asked one final question. Had those DOJ search log retentions been authorized under the intelligence community oversight framework? Bondi said she would need to provide a written response to that specific question. Lieu noted for the record that the Attorney General had declined to answer, orally and under oath. We have a WhatsApp channel. Come find us there when the response comes back. Go to our YouTube profile and tap the WhatsApp button. Takes 5 seconds. What the congressional record reflects from that Thursday morning in late winter is this. The Attorney General of the United States was presented with authenticated documentation. Her office had compiled and retained a 67-page surveillance log of a sitting member of Congress based on that member's official document review activities. She was unable to explain the constitutional authority for that practice. She declined to answer the central question under oath. Her written response was due to the committee within 21 days. At 11:53, the committee approved the subpoena for additional DOJ reading room surveillance logs. It covered all sitting members of Congress who had visited the facility since Bondi's confirmation. The vote was 22-4, with 5 Republicans voting alongside the majority. Lieu closed the blue folder. He gathered his materials without making a statement or a summation. Then he said 3 words into the microphone. The record speaks. Bondi's attorneys packed their materials in silence after the gavel came down. Bondi did not look at the cameras on her way out. Her shoulders were lower than they had been at 9:42 that morning. The posture of someone who had walked into the room prepared for a different kind of fight. The 47 names in the Epstein privilege log are still sealed. The 2.7 terabytes of deleted evidence remain unrecovered. And now there is a third question layered onto both of them. How many members of Congress have been surveilled for the crime of reading government documents? That question is now permanently on the record. Share this video with someone who needs to understand what oversight actually looks like. Patel Report Files covers the hearings. The nightly news wraps in 30 seconds. Share it now and hit the bell so the next one reaches you the moment it goes up. What remains unanswered is whether those surveillance logs were used to anticipate congressional lines of questioning. That question will not stay unanswered.